In 1966, when Ray Adam Archueletta began his first combat tour in Vietnam, he was well prepared for battle, leading a squad of airborne troops who had trained and worked together at Fort Bragg. The enemy, the Viet Cong, were unlike any enemy Americans had fought since World War II. The VC were tough, brutal, resilient, determined, ruthless. Most of all, they were fighting on their home territory. The Viet Cong were deadly transformers, unassuming farmers and shop owners by day, but guerrilla fighters at night or when the opportunity was presented. The Viet Cong were masters of deception and booby traps, dangerous adversaries. Additionally, the VC had been at war since the 1950s, first with the French and then the ARVN and American advisors. It would not be long before Ray demonstrated to the enemy how fierce, determined, and selfless American soldiers are in the face of mortal danger. During his first tour in Vietnam in 1966, Sergeant Archueletta killed 3 Viet Cong in a single action, placing his own life between the men of his squad and the enemy before he was seriously wounded. Ray was medevaced to the United States and was awarded a Bronze Star for valor along with his first Purple Heart for this action. When Ray returned to Vietnam in 1967, the war and his old unit had changed. During his recovery, the political and battlefield dynamics of the Vietnam War escalated, and the asymmetry of the ground war grew even more deadly. The 502nd was no longer made up of seasoned airborne troops who had trained together, but now consisted of a high percentage of draftees and non-airborne troops. This meant that Ray would be leading a squad very unlike the seasoned, cohesive squad he led in 1966. Ray understood the challenge he faced, and as was his character, he accepted his command with the maturity of a seasoned leader, and by leadership, by example, accepted risks to himself that saved others' lives. Now, back in the fray, SFC Archueletta was fighting not only the Viet Cong, but also North Vietnamese regulars, perhaps more dangerous than the VC because of the heavier armament they carried. And like the VC, the North Vietnamese regulars had fought the French and ARVN since the 1950s. In short, they knew the ground game well and were very dangerous and skilled adversaries. Time and again, SFC Archueletta chose to draw the enemy's fire to himself in order to cover his men and buy time for the evacuation of his wounded troopers. Such was the case in Ray's last encounter with the enemy. Mortally wounded though he was, he held off enemy fire in order that one of his wounded men could be evacuated. For that selflessness and love of his fellow soldiers, Ray paid the ultimate price. In his book, The Bridges at Tokyo Ri, James Michener wrote of heroic naval airmen who sacrificed their lives to take out a key North Korean bridge during the Korean War. At the end of the book, one of Michener's characters asks the question, "Where do we get such men?" Well, my friends, we get them from towns like Florence, Colorado. To read his award citations for his Bronze Star and 3 Silver Stars is to read the story of a true American hero, a common man of uncommon valor, a Coloradan in his country's uniform, displaying over and over again the kind of selflessness under fire that makes all of us proud to live under the same Rocky Mountain skies that Ray knew and loved. SFC Ray Adam Archueletta is a true hero. To honor him on this special day is an honor in itself. As a Vietnam veteran, as a Coloradan, and as a very proud American, I am grateful that such a fine man as Ray Adam Archueletta put his life on the altar of eternity so that others, that you and I, might live to enjoy our own freedom.